Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and today I want to talk about Doctor Who once again, along the lines of that great topic of great companions who never were in the history of Doctor Who. And this time out, I'm going modern series once again with the two characters from Time Heist. I think I even talked about this in my episode review going back some time ago when I first saw it on first airing. But Sai and Sabra in this episode, the sort of computer-minded guy, he was able to delete his own memory and everything and forget his entire family, as well as the sort of mutant, shapeshifter hailing almost right out of X-Men. These are two characters that really fall in line of characters I'd love to see back in Doctor Who, and I could really imagine stories unfolding with them being on further adventures in the TARDIS with the Doctor. It's kind of a situation where I feel like I like companions that have an impetus, that have a drive behind them. They're on the journey and they're experiencing the awe and wonder of traveling through time and space. And there's, that sort of delighting in that, and that being a very alien concept, and the awe and the wonder and the adventure, But I also like there to be an underridden factor as to what's driving a companion. And I think these two are absolutely pitch perfect along those lines, because you have a guy who, he forgot his entire family. He had to delete them because he's a criminal. He's a bank robber. Granted, by the end of that episode, Time Heist, both of these characters are given sort of everything they hoped and wished for. He's given a way to recertify his memory and reclaim what he lost. And she is given a cure, for all intents and purposes, for her shape-shifting capability. And, that sort of presents a problem in that I feel like with those things still in action, they would be more compelling companions. That is to say, before they have a sort of saving grace. And you can go any number of ways with that if you want to pick up with them. Of course, it is a timey-wimey show. You could pick up with them earlier in their lives. But I would like to actually pick up with them from where we left off and put a wrench in the works. Maybe with the Saber character, the shapeshifter, she finds that she has to reverse the process for one reason or another, and there's no going back. Once you reverse it, it can never be undone again. Some level of tragedy sort of fueling the momentum of these characters. They're not just about going on these wondrous adventures in time and space, but maybe they're seeking something. I think there's an aspect, a sort of romantic soliloquy to the idea that they're ever searching for something that they may never get. And with the Sai character, forgetting his family, or maybe his, memory system becomes corrupt, he would be trying to seek himself, and he would be trying to maybe better himself. Let's say he gets shacked up with a girlfriend that he really finally understands the value of life outside of just the familial. He finally has someone that he would risk his own life for. And maybe this calls into question, a corruption of his memory circuits that he doesn't want to risk anymore, and he's trying to find something to remove that process, or he's trying to find a way to be less sort of gallivanting and impetuous and getting himself into trouble with these sort of aesthetics in mind of coming home to somebody and sharing your life with somebody. And again, with the Saber character, there was a lot of sort of anguish on her part, that she, very much akin to the Rogue character in the Bryan Singer X-Men films, she could never touch somebody and be intimate with someone for fear of corrupting them or negatively influencing them in some manner, mostly down to the physical. But when you get into the idea of shape-shifting and the connotations of that, there's even spoken dialogue to the effect that, staring back into your own eyes, would you ever trust them? Could you ever be intimate with that, that scenario? And there's a level of, being disconcerting and never quite being able to relate to somebody, almost relating too hardcore, too much, in that you can see them from within, taking on their own visage. And the idea of using that sort of purposefully and, in different scenarios where you could potentially, let's say a world is in danger and you can impersonate the dictator and get the dictator out of the way, reverse the tides. There are so many aesthetics to that, the tragedy of touching someone and forming into them, basically reforming your body. And what if this was reawoken in her? I just find so many potential avenues of exploration and storytelling form that you could go down, that you could, it's rife for the picking with two characters like this. And granted, some might say, well, that would possibly eclipse the Doctor. But I mean, I'm not suggesting that at all. You know, we know that sometimes the companion takes a little bit more of the limelight, but in that event, it is only through their eyes that we're actually seeing the Doctor more well personified as the alien, as the Time Lord, as the person, the quirky, antics, beladen character that he is. And I think there would be just a great chance for some interesting stories. I mean, for all I know, you know, bring these characters back in a novelization and you know, make it sort of a pseudo-sequel where you're just revisiting these characters. You don't necessarily have to have an entire season dedicated to these characters as companions, but I just thought they were standout characters in the background of an otherwise interesting sort of Doctor Who adventure. And that's really what this series is about, talking about background characters, actors that brought to life these background personalities and really made me think I'd love to see them again in some way, shape, or form. And so yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you think of my sort of rambling talking about Sai and Sabra from the Series 8 episode Time Heist as far as being companions on further adventures. Do you think it's a viable scenario? Would you have liked to have seen more of their stories explored? Which way do you think it could have gone? You know, again, reawakening their abilities and going back on their having gotten all of their hopes and desires by the end of that episode and being driven for that, being driven with a purpose. Do you think there could have been something to that in the format of Doctor Who? Let me know in the comments below. And so yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.